Now, if a heat pump is not to your liking, but you still want to save money and be kinder to the environment, what about pellet stoves? Well, I want you to meet Ronan Keogh from Fraber Wood, Pellet and Boilers, Stoves and Boilers Limited. Fraber Pellet Stoves, we'll just call you for short.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Morning.
And you're based in Rathue, which is near Kilbeggan in County Westmeath, very central, 30 years in business. How energy efficient are wood pellet stoves compared with some of the other heating options available?
Well, up to about 95%. They're also a carbon neutral source of heating. So, they definitely fall in the A+ range, which would be not quite as efficient as a heat pump, but not far off it.
Grant supported?
Unfortunately not, no. There is one grant available for older age people living at home. It's called Housing Aids Grant. They can avail of about 8,000 up front, but that's through the local county council. They have to, explore that avenue themselves. But it is available. The only catch is they have to be living alone, which is, not many people fall under that category, if they're over 65.
Okay, but for everybody else, it's probably a case of getting out the calculator. If you are looking at a heat pump, there's going to be an extra electricity cost associated with that in most homes. So, even after the grant, you have to figure out which is the lesser.
Exactly, yeah. Well, listening to the last guy on the radio about from SEI, not many households have up to 40 grand of disposable income or even go down the loan route to go to a heat pump. Generally speaking, a 24 kilowatt wood pellet boiler, including a full clean of the heating system, probably a year's supply of pellets, which we provide also, which is important. We source the pellets from Eastern Europe and bring them in and sell them to the public. Probably 7,500 would cover you, to really redo your heating system properly and efficiently, The other thing...
Talk to us about the maintenance regime then, and the cleaning regime.
Yeah, once a year. Obviously, there's hours that, once the machine hits certain hours, it will be required a service, but that's generally in around a year's time from when it's installed.
Okay, and are there good habits to use? The way with open fires, for instance, people you shouldn't let it damp down, you should let it
basically
burn
common
hot.
sense is a big thing, but also dry quality pellets, which lucky enough we supply, and just common sense really. They're a lot easier than solid fuel open fires or whatever, a lot cleaner also, and the main thing, they're a lot kinder to the environment. But touching on the grants, even though Ireland is in the EU, like Italy, Spain, Germany all have grants for the general public for these up to 50%, which is a bit surprising that in Ireland it's only one category of people. The OAPs living on their own fall into that category, which is a bit...
Has it always been like this?
There was a grant approximately 15 years ago for them. They were more industrial type stuff that would go out in your garage, but they've improved a lot efficiency-wise, and you can replace your range or your solid fuel Stanley boiler or whatever with a wood pellet stove in the house. So you have an extra heat source in the area to put into also,
So you would make the case that we should be brought into line with other EU countries.
Well, absolutely,
and introduce a grant regime. Well, you'll have a chance to press that case in 2 weeks' time,
hopefully,
to the SEAI. In the meantime, then, talk to us about integrating a wood pellet option with, let's say, a house that has traditionally been oil-fired.
Yeah, no problem. It can run in conjunction with it, or gas. We've done that on many occasions. People will say, should I remove the oil burner? Absolutely not. It's handy to have it as a backup. Keeping any stove serviced as well. A lot of oil burners need to be serviced once a year, but it'll run completely in conjunction with the wood pellet stove. And pellets at the moment are dropping down in price. 2 years ago, they got very expensive with the war and COVID, and supply chains got, damaged badly with that. But they are starting to come back down to an affordable price. Oil can be volatile, but everybody knows that, but it's still a quick source of heating in the house, but we can install any boiler stove to run in conjunction with that, no problem.
And for people who are very environmentally conscious, are we 10 years, 20 years from perhaps having indigenous wood pellets in adequate supply here in Ireland?
Yeah, there's a large producer here not too far from Tullamore. It's just that, I suppose, business pressures made it impossible for him to sell at the rates he was selling at. Obviously, they went up. We're hoping now with the commercial energy rates reducing slightly, that, you know, they'll come back down to a more even price, you know.
So what governs the size of boiler or pellet stove that you need? Is it number of rads, size of the house? What are the factors?
A bit of both. Generally, the number of rads in the house is where you go to size the boiler, you know. Also, certain boilers will provide more levels of heat to the space it's in, which you have to go on, and also. But the square footage of the house obviously matters too. And if the house is zoned upstairs, downstairs, living bedrooms or whatever. Yeah.
And how long do they last?
15 to 20 years if they're maintained properly. Like we have some stoves that are over 10 years and they've been well maintained and still work. Obviously, they might need a spare part here and there, which is normal, but they're still working away fine. But
in an average house, average use, your break-even point, your return on investment is when?
You have to factor in a lot of things to get a really you know, accurate figure on that. But I suppose compared to a heat pump, probably about 30% of the time or less. Yeah, because the you know, the life expectancy of a heat pump is probably the same, you know, on a good day, you know.
Anything else we need to know? I know there'll be an opportunity to pick your brain at the Green Home and Energy Show. But what do people most ask? What is the most popular question? Consumption
of pellets. You know, how much will it use throughout the year? You know, which is
the hard one to answer.
Well, it is, of course, because a lot of people are working from home now. There are a lot of older people that are retired. They're going to be spending more time in the house. I have one in my house 4 or 5 years now, and I can give a pretty accurate, you know, guide to what it's going to use. So, you know, that does help. Often you get people that will say use more or less, but general rule of thumb, if the boiler is a certain kilowatt, it has a max and minimum usage, so you can get a pretty accurate level of, you know, what it's going to use, which is the biggest question they ask. And also lifespan as well, you know, warranty, things like that, you know. But we have a full backup service if something was to go wrong with the stove. You know, we have guys on the road all the time that are going around fixing them.
And the warranty is how long?
8 years on some of the boilers. The actual boiler parts and labour, 2 years.
So for anybody who can't go along on Sunday week, best way to find you online, how?
www.fraber.ie. Yeah, and you can find all our range of products and wood pellets and everything on there.
Ronan, I hope I get the company name right. Fraber Wood Pellet Stoves and Boilers Limited. You're based in Rathue.
That's it.
And Ronan Keogh, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks.